Welcome to Big Easy Baseball, everyone. With me, I have four awesome, talented creators, and today we're going to be talking about banning the shift. Is that good or bad for Major League Baseball? If everyone wants to give a brief introduction, you could go ahead and go for it. We could start with Rick.
I'm Rick Talks Baseball on TikTok. I do historical baseball stuff, and I'm going to tell you banning the shift is a terrible idea.
Yeah, and awesome. Evan.
My name is Evan. I'm the voice of Evan on TikTok, and I'm here today to address before the delegation the shift and my take on the shift.
Very nice. Chanterprise.
My name is Kevin, aka Chanterprise, and I believe that the shift shouldn't be banned, but I don't know. I'm interested to hearing what everybody else has to say. So,
And then last but not least, Cassie.
Hi, I'm Cassie Richards 7 on TikTok, and I'm here to tell you why I think the shift should be banned.
All right, awesome. Thanks, everyone. And Rick, you're kind of on a team by yourself here. So if you want to start and expand a little bit into why you think banning the shift is bad, go right ahead.
I'm going to break up points on this one. Baseball is a game of strategy and adjustments. Managers and coaches should be able to put their players in the best position to be able to get players out. Banning the shift in the minor leagues has had minimal effect on the batted balls and play average. Banning the shift isn't going to increase the action in a game. Players and managers are still going to find a way around it. They're still going to put people in the best positions that they feel are going to get outs. We shouldn't ban the shift because people can't hit away from it. They're major league players who are paid a lot of money. If teams shift, change the approach, take the ball the other way, foul off pitchers' pitches, and wait until that pitcher makes a mistake or you get your pitch. We'll start there. I've got tons of points, but I want everyone else to get their points in.
And going off Rick's point of how banning the shift wouldn't change baseball that much because teams can find a way around it. That's exactly why the shift isn't really as vital as we might think it is. Because again, like you think like, oh, there's only two people to each side of the base. You think like, oh, like going up the middle is going to be easy. No, because there's going to be teams that find a way around it. There's going to be teams that maybe put the shortstop right on second base, the second baseman right on second base. We're going to see things in baseball that are kind of like a shift, but not actually a shift. In addition to, let's face it, people in baseball, not just baseball, but all sports, they like offense. They like scoring. And what the lack of the shift, what the ban of the shift is going to do is it's going to turn those ground balls that would have went either to the second baseman that's way out in right field or to the shortstop way out in left field. It's going to take those ground balls and turn them into singles, maybe turn them into doubles. Some of them are going to turn into runs, and those runs are going to those singles are going to increase batting average. They're going to increase the scoring, and it may very well increase ratings.
Can I debate off that one, or do I have to wait for somebody?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Anyone can just jump in whenever now. So if you
Okay.
counter that for sure.
So real quick before somebody else jumps on. You were talking about more singles, right? More action in the game, right? Trying to increase the pace of the game. But remember, there's only three outcomes that hitters do right now. The baseball has a bigger problem with the three outcome batters where banning the shift is not going to help that. You're still going to have guys strike out a ton. They're either going to walk, strike out, or hit a home run. Doing the shift isn't going to fix that. Banning the shift is not going to do enough to curb the problem. There may be more balls in play with the rule change, but strikeouts are still going to be as prevalent as ever. And the problem with that is you have so many guys throwing over 100 and so many dominant pitchers and so many talented pitchers that the strikeouts are indeed what hurts the game. I mean, most people are, if they want to see offense, it's not going to work that way because it's a three outcome. And that's not banning the shift is not going to change that because there's so many strikeouts. They're striking out at rates that we've never seen before.
True, but I think at the same time, though, like it's kind of, I think banning the shift is like Rick, you have a good point, obviously, which the way you actually said that now kind of makes me think. So now I'm like, oh, maybe Rick's right. but I also think it's going to benefit left-handed hitters. Like, obviously, as a hitter, you should be able to hit, put the ball anywhere. But I also think it's going to benefit left-handed hitters because, like, you're up to bat, right? And as a left-handed hitter, and you're trying to, let's say there's runners in scoring position, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4 standing in a line as a left-handed hitter on the right side of the field, and you're thinking, where am I, as a left-handed hitter, like, where am I going to put the ball? Like Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, things like that, guys who have struggled this past season with the shift, always hitting into the shift because you have, someone literally standing in right field, someone pretty much standing in center, and a little bit all the way, to the left, to the point where it's like a line, and how are you going to hit the ball? And I think if they ban the shift, they're thinking, oh, you know what? If they're in the same way, as they should be, it's going to be easier to put something, to the right side, through the left side. But that's just what I think. But now that I'm thinking about it, Rick, now I'm like, you know what? In my head, I'm like, Rick does got a point.
So the other thing real quick, and then I'm going to pass it off to Kevin so I don't keep taking up. But since I'm on an island by myself, I think Kevin said he might be siding a little bit on my side, though. So one of the other things to take into consideration is who is the shift, like banning the shift, really going to benefit? You're correct, Cassie. That was one of my points. It's only benefiting the left-handed pull hitter. Right-handers, they're not even barely shifting anymore because there really is no effect on right-handed hitters. I mean, still they will shift, but not as often. It's really, this is for your Bellingers, your Gallos, your Seagers. So, but in the end, think about the small market teams that can't generate runs at the level that a higher payroll can. The way that they can be competitive is through defensive shifts, because what does defensive shifts do? They increase the defensive run saved. So how is a small market team like the A's or the Pirates, maybe they won't compete anyway, but at least this gives them somewhat of a chance by increasing their defensive run saved. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to generate the offense the Yankees, Boston, LA are going to be able to put out there. Because in the end, higher payroll teams are if you start trying to do more runs, they're the ones that are going to kill it.
Well, Rick, let me ask you this, going off what you're saying. So do you think that the shift is going to have no impact, banning the shift is going to have no impact, or do you think it's going to impact smaller market teams? And because you brought up the study, so I'm just curious.
So the study was done in, I believe, 2020, and it was the Pirates. The Pirates actually increased their defensive run save by 11. So, I mean, there was definitely some value there for these teams that can't compete at the same level when it comes to runs. What I was stating, they're trying to increase the pace of the game and they're wanting more action. But what I was saying is because there's so much 3 outcome results, which is your walk, your strikeout, and your home run, and there's such a bad strikeout problem right now, it's going to have minimal effect. Already in the minors, the batted balls in play, minimal, like 2%, 0.2% difference. That's what I was getting at.
Okay, gotcha. Kevin, you've been quiet. How are you feeling about this?
Well, just letting everybody else talk. No, I mean, in all honesty, I am on the fence for both sides, and that's just generally how I am for most things, of just being kind of middle ground. But from what I initially said, I don't think that the shift should not be banned. Is generally the side I go on, and that's just again more of thinking the the strategy of the game and things that go on and with it. So it's part of the game. It's that's the things that have evolved over time, and so now all of a sudden it's we need to get rid of this, from people moving over to one side of the field. And that's just part of the game. If guys that are being paid X millions of dollars, to only pull the ball, you could make both arguments of if that's all they do, then that's all they do. That's what they're best at. But at the same time, if you're supposed to be an all-around athlete, there's guys that will benefit from not having somebody, in right field or whatever. But again, it's I just don't think that it should be banned. Yeah. Part of my argument is again just as much as a joke of whatever it is, but it's just live small, bunt the ball. It's it's if you don't ban the shift, then there's certain arguments for having those types of plays and whatnot, you know. So
Right. And I'm pretty similar. I was on the fence, and then I started thinking about it, and I think I said that positions are a social construct, and that there's nowhere in the rules saying a player needs to play a certain position. But like, whether we like it or not, positions are positions. And I had an analogy that changed my mind, and I'm curious for both of your takes on it. And it's going to sound like a really simple analogy, but if you play a video game like COD or like Overwatch and you have a character or a gun that's dominating the meta, right? Like everyone's using it because it's really good, right? Everyone has access to it, but everyone's using it, it's really good. It's going to get boring, right? No one's going to have fun to keep playing that game. And like you said, the shift is disproportionately affecting left-handed hitters who pull the ball, right? Righties don't really have to deal with it. So if there's this weapon that can just constantly be used against left-handed hitters, it's just unfun. It's unfun. No one's really enjoying it. We'd rather see them put stuff in play and get singles, even if it's still on a three true outcomes, right? A single, that's not really part of the three true outcomes, right? So thoughts on that?
Do you think Bellinger or Gallo are going to hit singles? The people who are most affected by it?
Yeah, I do. And I think my case for this is Anthony Rizzo. I'm a Yankee fan, as you know. He's grounded out so many times to a second baseman playing in right field. And I think that if that second baseman can't be all the way out there, it's going to at least make for a much harder time for him to get the ball, or a much more interesting event of him getting the ball, right?
Can I play devil's advocate? I want to ask everyone this question, but where do we stop then? What's the next thing? They're going to tell pitchers what pitches they can and cannot throw?
Well, they already do that, right? Spitballs aren't a thing.
They really do.
Right.
I'm talking about like curveballs, like
can't
fastballs.
file
Like,
it.
you cannot throw changeups. You know, where are we going to draw the line with what you can and cannot do with these limitations? I mean,
I'm sure Eric over here would.
But I personally feel like they would never limit a pitcher as far as like the pitches he can and can't throw. Say like, oh, you can't throw 100 no more. You can't throw curveballs. You can't throw X, Y, Z because asking a pitcher to do that is basically asking for injuries. Like somebody would definitely get hurt under that hypothetical rule set. But as far as the shift goes, it's like again a lot less potential for injuries because really you're still playing your defense. You're still fielding your position. It's just you got to field it a little bit different. And it's really mainly just going to impact the middle infielders more than anything. I mean, first and third base will be impacted too, don't get me wrong, but not as much as second base and shortstop. And even then with the shift, it's like the shift wasn't necessarily breaking the game as far as like it wasn't breaking the game when it was implied is what I'm trying to say. So it's like taking it away wouldn't exactly do anything that keeping it would, because shift or no shift, you can still like a left-handed batter can still hit one to the wall, basically. Right. Shift or no shift, the batter can still like sneak one right inside the foul line, like fair line, and go straight to the corner and put one in the corner. Like they can still do that.
Yeah, and to jump off Evan's point, I'm kind of joining the debate here because I find this really interesting. To jump off Evan's point, I don't think they'd ban a pitcher from throwing pitches. Instead, they'd move the mound back a half foot, like they're going to do now. They're banning the shift, but you're still going to see second baseman hugging the bag or the second baseman playing as far back. So it's more of limitations rather than banning. I don't think it's that slippery of a slope.
So I'll counteract that a little bit, but so are we embracing analytics? Can we all agree that baseball has embraced analytics? We're past that point right now. So analytics tells us, and you just said you're an analytics guy before we jumped on. So analytics tells us that so many percentage of the time that they're hitting balls to this spot. Mm-hmm. So why can't you position a player there to give you the best chance of getting that out? That's a strategy. I just don't understand how you can take strategy out of the game is my point. Because you're using analytics to determine where they're going to hit the ball, and because you're right, you're being punished.
Right, and to counteract that, right? So I agree. I'm a big analytics guy, and that's what they're doing, right? I love that that's part of the game. But at the same time, like you mentioned earlier, it's something that's specifically affecting or disproportionately affecting left-handed pull hitters, right? So it's not like I get it that it's an analytics thing, but it's like going back to the Overwatch or gun analogy, right? If it's too good and it's really everybody has to use it, limiting it or making it slightly worse, it's not really a bad option. Not a bad option.
So Kevin, you work a lot with like hitters and pitchers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So like is one of the things that's taught to go away from pulling the ball, or is pulling the ball a bad thing? I want to get your opinion, because if these pull hitters, you're not being punished so much as a left-handed hitter, are they being punished because they're pulling the ball? Is pulling the ball necessarily a bad thing? I want to get your take on this.
I wouldn't say not necessarily, but for majority of hitters, right-handed or left, your pull side is your stronger side. Just because of how, I would say like physics works, especially if you're trying to go opposite way, like you don't have as much power, like, flicking the ball the other way. So, but I mean, again, there's going to be arguments said to like Ronald Acuna Jr. or Joey Votto, like, being able to push the ball the other way and still hit home runs. But, yeah, I don't know. Like pulling the ball is what is for some hitters is generally emphasized just because of how their swing is designed or how, they, generate power. So
Live small about the ball.
yeah, live small about the ball.
For sure. I don't know. I just think that what you were saying earlier about the shift is basically for left-handed hitters being banned, if I'm being completely honest. Because there's so many times where I watched the game this past year, live and on TV, where there's, runner in scoring position, and they're like, oh, this is left-handed hitter, put, your whole infield to the right side of the field. And next thing you know, it's, 2 outs and, like I said, runner on second and hit, a ball that they think is going to be a single. But, you've got, like I've seen before said that, like, Manny Machado's literally standing in the middle, of right field. And he just, scoops up the ball, throws the first inning over. And I can see how frustrating for a left-handed hitter that can be. But at the same time, like Rick said earlier, at first I was like, oh, ban the shift. But now that we've been talking about it, I kind of can see as a professional baseball player, you should be able to put the ball pretty much anywhere. So I can definitely see, both sides of don't ban it and ban it at the same time. But I can definitely see, I guess, which is funny because I'm not even left-handed, I'm right-handed. But from left-handed hitters, I have heard just talk about, oh, what do you think of, obviously, everything going into spring training is going to be a lot of new rules are being, put on. So a lot of things are going to be different. But I've heard so many left-handed hitters, even like I went to the Cubs convention and they were talking to the hitters and they're like, oh, I'm so excited for, the shift to be banned because as a left-handed hitter, I can finally start hitting the ball. But at the same time, as a hitter, shouldn't you be able to put the ball left or right in the first place? So I don't know. I was all like ban the shift, but now that I've seen so many more perspectives, I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe they're right. Like as a professional athlete who gets, paid big money, doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed, you should be able to put the ball anywhere.
I'm gonna name some.
Well, as somebody who's technically ambidextrous and that I write with my left hand and do everything else with my right hand, that has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to bring that up. Basically, I understand that it's not as easy as it seems to be able to just hit the ball to any part of the ballpark. However, like left-handed hitters, some of them have found a way around the shift. Some of them have been finding ways around the shift, and so it's really just the nature of the game. Like a new rule comes up, you find a way to play around it. Shift comes up, you find a way to hit in the shift. Like you find a way to beat the shift. Shift goes away, you figure out this new defense, you find a way to hit through that. And that's the way baseball has gone since its inception. And I feel like there's really nothing saying that the game won't go with that, won't go, oh my goodness, that way again. So I guess that was a long-winded way of saying I agree with you.
I don't understand why if they're going to shift you, why players aren't just doing an Ichiro, like a slap hit down the line or trying to lay down a bunt. down the line. Like punish them for the shift. Like I just don't understand.
Right. I think the answer to that is that if I'm a pitcher, right, and Anthony Rizzo's up to bat, and I have my four infielders all playing on the right side, the left side, I'm going to be throwing Anthony Rizzo purely inside. I'm going to pitch him almost completely inside, making sure he's not going to get the chance to take the ball the other way, right? So the idea of like just hit the other way, I don't think it's that simple at all, right? Because we have to think like baseball's an analytics game. It's a smart game. Pitchers are going to have those scouting reports as well. So,
but how often do they hit their spots? I mean, pitchers make mistakes. Let's be real. They hang pitches. They miss their spots consistently. So what's to say they miss a spot and you take it the other way? Like right. It's again a chess match in my opinion. So if they throw you a 98-mile-an-hour cutter in on your hands, you foul it off. If you're a good hitter, I've seen professional at bats where they fouled off multiple pitches that were inside just for the pitcher to eventually cave in or make a mistake. So that's why I'm trying to say with these hitters, like you look at guys like Shohei Ohtani, right? Who's a freak. So we'll try to watch him off of that. But you got Freddie Freeman, right? You got Bryce Harper, Christian Yelich. You've got players who are left-handed who were generally good, even with the shift. Now, I know Yelich is just starting to come back, but those are guys who have no problem with the shift. Why do these guys not have any problem with it? But these other guys, like you're hearing about Gallo, Bellinger, those guys, and I mean, we're just judging it based off of batting average, which I think is an archaic stat.
I agree.
I just thought of something while the two of y'all were talking. So no shift means that the fielders are going to have to defend differently, right? Which means on some level, pitchers are going to have to pitch to batters differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
So follow the logic here. Wouldn't that, in theory, mean that there could be more home runs hit by these left-handed batters because pitchers are going to have to take a chance at throwing it into the parts of the zone where they hit the best and where they hit the hardest? Wouldn't that make sense?
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So if that is the case, there ain't no way the shift is coming back if the logic does hold true, because anything that leads to more home runs, MLB is in favor of.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. My counter argument, but argument just in general is I think a lot of these players just are not paid to hit singles. So I think the one thing is interesting is what will happen with BABIP, so like batting average of balls in play. So I think that'll be a key figure to see. I know you said that there were studies like in the minors or whatever for the banning the shift, but I think for, a lot of the guys that are paid the big bucks at the major league level to pull the ball, in doing their job, like what does it look like? Will we see, a 400 hitter, of somebody just being able to just get more singles because, there's no shift, like what will that be a drastic thing? And I think the only other thing that I have is, the styles of play for baseball, right? So in Japan or Korea, and I don't know this because I haven't seen enough of foreign baseball, but are they banning the shift? Is that a big problem in their countries with, how they play? Because again, in America, power is the thing that's emphasized, power pitching, power hitting. But then in most foreign countries, especially the Asian countries, it's all about contact and finesse. Right. So, they don't have a problem with it because, brought up Ichiro, they have guys that just slap the ball the other way because they want to get on base, versus again, for US baseball, most of it is just see how far you can hit the ball,
Those are two fantastic points. And you made me rethink at least one of my arguments. And that's the fact that we can't judge it off of minor league. But it's BABIP. BABIP?
Yeah, BABIP, yeah.
BABIP. The most fun stat to say.
You can't judge it off that because the talent discrepancy from the minor leagues to the major leagues, we don't know what that difference is going to be yet. Because it's a whole different ball game in the minors than it is in the majors. So that was a great point.
Yeah, I also agree that I think that minor league, the AA study. In the MLB, players are around longer. They have more consistent spray charts, and I'm not sure. I'd have to look this up, but I'm assuming they have a much higher exit velocity, which I think will matter a lot on ground balls in the infield. So. Yes.
And it is a small sample size, so it's only they only implemented it like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So they have a small sample size of data.
Right.
Going off of like what Evan said, that also like made me think he's absolutely right. I have a feeling like I don't know if this is actually what Evan meant, but if correct me if I'm wrong, but I definitely feel like with them banning the shift, they want to see left-handed hitters like hit, I guess, more for power. Because if you look at the statistics from this past season, the comparison of left-handed hitters and right-handed hitters blew left-handed hitters out of the water. Especially because of with the shift, being put in place and everything. I felt like it was so much easier for a right-handed hitter to hit into the shift than a left-handed hitter was, which would be absolutely frustrating, obviously. But
why do you guys just get big and throw gas and hit tanks? How's that? Let's do that.
What
Let's
is
throw
your
a bunch of ball.
Shift on these nuts, baby.
And we're getting demonetized.
There's no monetization to begin with,
I
believe me.
think I understood correctly. I think
Now we're making less
Eric
than
agreed with
money.
me. Did you guys get that? I think he said I won the argument. That's what I got out of that.
I don't know
But
about
yeah,
that.
no, that's how I feel about that. If that's what Evan was talking about, I feel like left-handed hitters are going to hit more for power than right-handed hitters are this season. If I had to go into a prediction, which obviously predictions to me are just a mess in itself, but I have a feeling left-handed hitters' batting averages with the shift being banned this year is going to go up a lot higher than the right-handers will this year for sure. Or it could be equal, or it could just be equal.
Right. And that brings us to like about 28 minutes. So I think we're good to just about wrap this up. And before, we give the outro, was anyone's mind changed? Does anyone think, I thought it should be banned, it shouldn't, or other way around now?
All right, so personally with me, I was really more so on the fence of the shift because it's like I could understand why you would want it to stay. I would understand why you like it, like why you like now that it's banned. So really, this was me and playing devil's advocate for like 25 minutes, but yeah, this has been a good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I was all for banning the shift, but Rick made so many good points. Like I said earlier, how like as a professional hitter, you should be able to hit the ball, and no matter where it is, put it to the left, put it to left field, put it to right field. So definitely, I went from like extreme anti-shift to definitely now like in the middle between banning it and not banning it.
My mind has completely changed. I want the shift to be banned because baseball needs to be in its traditional form with players at certain positions.
We used to be a country. A proper country.
I think I won. According to Eric, we have it on video that I believe I won the argument.
Eric was just screaming. I heard half of what he said.
I'm just kidding. No, everyone, as always, everyone has great points, and that's the great part of this is we can debate, and there really isn't a wrong answer. So that's what makes this.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out that Kevin also said that professional hitters, that was also his point, that if you should be, you're paid enough. He also used that as one of his points also.
Right. And I think for me, I don't know. I was originally for the shift, then I was anti. I think I'm still more on the anti side now, but
I'm gonna win you over.
Yeah, we'll see.
Talk more later.
but I think either way, we can all agree that the MLB season is going to be a lot of fun to watch with these new changes and just seeing the outcomes and then comparing them to what it was like in the past. We'll get much larger sample sizes than the AA now. So either way, thanks for coming on, everyone. If you're watching this, if you're still watching this, follow all of them on social media. Go do it right now. Leave a like, subscribe while you're here, and just have a great day, everyone.